I think now you guys are clear on the environments and how to map a state file to an environment. And we talked about the top file for the particular environment. Okay, and using all those stuffs. Okay, so the next concept we are going to discuss here is called events and reactors. Okay, so this is having a very big use case scenario. So like, for example, okay, it's up to you what you're trying to do. Okay, imagine when a particular event happened on a particular minion. Okay, I want some set of actions to be triggered. Think of it like a webhook kind of concept. Like one of the use case I may immediately think of is like, you can also use this to auto accept your keys. Okay, when a particular minion with this particular parameter is getting added to that, I want the minion to be automatically accepted, and if that is not matching that, I want the minion certificate to be automatically rejected or deleted. All these things, kind of things, you can do it. This is one of the example in the reactors and event scenario. Okay, or it can be anything else, right? Like when a particular state file is being applied onto a particular minion, I want it to trigger another set of action. Okay, so all these things you can do it with the help of the events and reactors. Okay, so first let me talk about how do I get the list of events which are triggered on the machine. Okay, and based on that we can write a state file which will trigger another action that is called as your reactors. Okay, so when we talk about events, okay, there are multiple ways you can list the events. So one is by using the directly calling the salt CLI, you can list the events, or even using Python, you can get the events and you can write your automations accordingly. Okay, we will see those examples here. Okay, so first let us start with listing the events. Okay. Master, let us run this command salt -run. Okay, salt-run is a command where whenever I want to execute some state file or any salt command which is on the local of the machine, because here we are going to have the events monitored in the master, because all the events are going to happen in the master, because we talked about there is a 0MQ system, and in the MQ system all those events are getting triggered. So I'm going to list the events from the master. So the command is salt run state dot events event. Then see, the output is going to be, I want it to be a very structured format in a proper JSON format. So I'm just going to give. So once you run this, you would be able to see that the prompt is being blocked because it is going to list all the events. So let me take up another terminal. And if you try to do the ping activity, alt star dot ping. So while this is running, if you see the events, you can see things are getting updated for it. So I just did a ping activity. I'm just running this command in the foreground. You can see that for the particular activities, this is the function which has been called. Okay, and this is the particular minion. And when you see this, it's happening on the Ubuntu, Windows, and all those things. You can see that it is happening. Okay, so this is how you can monitor the events, and based on the events, you will be able to trigger some actions that is called as the reactors. We'll talk about that later. So this is the easiest way to monitor an event. We were talking about the events. Okay, so the first example, okay, I think the session is still blocked. Okay, the first example we are going to talk about is like listing the events using the salt CLI. So the next thing I'm going to do is writing a small Python program. Okay, and using the Python program, I'm going to list that so that we can reuse it whenever it is needed. So let's do that first. So first, let me quickly create a small Python program. This will be using the Salt plugins called Salt Utils and Salt config, and using that, it is going to list the events. Okay, there I'm just going to print it. Okay, just to show you how I can access the events from an external system. Okay, till now we are talking about getting the events, and with the Salt call command, you will not be able to take it and process it if you need any requirement. So this example, I'm just going to see, like using Python, I'll be able to get the events, and after that I can process whatever I want to do. So I'm just going to show you a small Python program which will be help you to get the events from the Python via Python. Okay. So let me create a file called, which directory I'm in. I think I'll be in the home training. That's good. Okay. Slash book events listen .py. You can give it any name. I'm just going to give it like this. Hashbang. Hashbang is not mandatory. I can just give it /usr/bin/python. So I'm just going to run it with the Salt Python. Okay, not the default Python. Code salt.config salt.utils.event. So I'm just going to print the time. So I'm just going to import print and import pretty print. Print. This will print it in pretty formats. Okay. And then I'm going to say ops is equal to fig and underscore fig. Is going to provide where exactly is my configuration file. Put us in the /etc/salt/master. So this is my configuration file. Events is equal to. So I'm just going to get the events to a variable called events that I will be printing it. Event underscore event. I'm going to get an event. This event I'm going to get it on the master. And these events will be written in the socks dir. So I'm going to provide my socks dir equal to options. From the options, get the sock dir. What is the transport mechanism? In the options, there will be a transport. So I'm just using the transport. Options is equal to ops. We get the events, and then fonts equal to event dot get underscore event for 30 seconds, and I'm going to filter for a particular tag. Okay, so I'm just going to trigger an event with the tag called cookbook test. So I'll do it later. So I'm just writing this Python program to filter only the particular tag activity. And let me print. At 0 represents the minion ID. But let me just print it with the timestamp. ASCII time. Okay, let me close this bracket and then the event bracket. And in the tag, but printing the response, closing this bracket, response bracket, and closing this bracket. Then, so all these things are going into my response. So I will just print the actual data in the event. Print response. This is my small Python file. It will look out for events. It will just filter the events with the tag test, because if I run the normal normal events, it's going to list all the events which are happening. But here I'm just filtering only for the events with the tag cookbook test. Okay, so let me just try to run this and see what is happening. I'll just share it with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it with the salt Python. I'm not running the default Python because the default Python will be 2.7, where I will not be able to access the salt libraries and things. I'm having an issue. Thing. Another mistake I have is the event Once it should be event. This actually should work, but it's better to have it as a okay. Now it is listening. Let me share it with you guys. Let's show what I did. Run it with the salt Python. Okay, if I try to run it with the normal Python, you'll get some errors because the salt libraries which I imported may not have all the salt config and all those things. You can see the module salt config is missing in the default Python. But the default Python is 2.6 or something in CentOS. Okay, so instead of that, I'm running it with the salt Python. The salt Python using 3.9 Python version 3.9. So run this, and if you try to run the ping on the other node, other terminal we have, right? You will not see any output here because I'm filtering only for the event with the tag cookbook test. Okay, I will trigger a event with the tag cookbook text nest, but just to try to run the test ping and see whether it is not, it shouldn't be returning any event. Okay. It's okay. Fine. So try this and let me know. So this one will listen for the 30 seconds time format. Then it will show you that. You can just modify that. So whatever I have written here is okay. It will start looking for the events. Till now we haven't triggered any events. That's what we are going to do it. Okay. So it will wait for the first event. Okay. And then it will print the output of it. Okay. So this one I have written it to look it only for the first event, and then the output should be printed here. We haven't triggered any event till now. Okay. We are going to wait. That's what we are going to do next. We are going to trigger an event from one of the minion. Okay. So that is where we have as of now we have written a Python script. Okay, which will be waiting for a first event, and then it will come out automatically. Okay. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to trigger an event from the minion, so that we will do it next. So first thing is you will run this. Okay, after a couple of minutes, like a couple of seconds, you will be getting output like this. That's okay. Okay. So if you want to continuously monitor that, we can do that. Okay. So, but my concern here is like first let's just write the script and start listening for the event, and then in the minion we will trigger an event with the tag cookbook test and see how that it is getting printed, and that you can use it later in your scripting concept, whatever you want to. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So once it is done, let me take my CentOS. Okay. There, let me trigger an event. So here also I'm going to do a salt-call event dot fire underscore master. I'm going to trigger an event on the master. I can pass some data to it. book list. So if you run this on the CentOS minion, you can see it is completed true. And let me check in the master whether it is printing something. No, I think before running this, it's gone. So let me just run the script once again and then trigger the event immediately. Then I should be able to see it is printing it. So this is listening. Let me go to this and then trigger the event immediately. Once I triggered it, you can see it is printing this particularly for me. You should be able to see this output. So this one will just wait for the first action. If you want to run it in a loop, you can run it with the Python loop and other things. So I'll just show you how to put them in a continuous loop. So basically, we told that saltstack is going to work on the default 0MQ concept, right? But when I explained the architecture, I told you there is a 0MQ is being utilized and any action which will be written will be happening on the pub/sub method. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to read the socket of the 0MQ and then there I'm going to filter that. Okay. So for that, I'm writing the Python code where I am going to use two of the modules. One is called as the salt config, which will load the configuration from a particular file, right? So my master configuration is available in the etc salt master. And from the configuration, I am going to get the what is the transport method, what is the SOX DAR, where exactly the SOX file is available, because it is going to listen the SOC. And from that, we are going to filter and get that. So for that, I'm going to import two modules. One is to load the configuration file. Okay. Another one is using the value from the config, I'm going to list the events. These are all the two things. And next is in my output, I want to import, use the timestamp. So I'm just going to import the time and also that pretty print to print the value in a proper format. Okay. So this is the format I'm just looking for it. Okay. So this is the output I'm looking for. Based on your need, you can just modify whatever you want to do it. Okay. So the first thing is I am just loading the configuration to a variable called ops. In the ops, I'm just going to load the configuration. The configuration file is etc salt master, and then I am going to get the events. Okay. And for the events, I'm going to specify what should be my I should be getting the events from the master, and then the SOX directory. It is going to get the SOX directory from the master configuration file. That is what I'm doing it. And the transport method, it should get it from the configuration file, and the other options, whatever the event needed, it will be coming from this ops file. In the ops variable, I'm having the configuration file, which is nothing but the etc salt master file is loaded. Okay. And then I am going to get the response. This is where I'm going to form the response. What I wanted to type it is here, like it is going to wait for 30 seconds. Okay. And it is going to monitor for the tag event with the tag cookbook text test. Cookbook/test is the event it is going to look out for. And once it is received, it is going to print event fired at, okay, my time. Okay. So I'm just going to print the time here, event fired at, like this is the ASCII time. Okay. And next is I'm just going to print some stars here. That's what I'm giving here. And then I'm going to print the tag. So here I'm going to print the tag. The tag is cookbook test. Okay. And then I'm going to print the data from the tag cookbook event test. Okay. And then I'm going to print them in a pretty format, which maintain the proper tagging and other structures. Okay. So this Python file will be lookout for the event with the tag cookbook test, and it will do that. And while I'm running this on the minion, when I do the when I'm firing an event at the master, the data I'm just going to put it here is cookbook events test. So this is what it will be printed in the log, and the tag name is cookbook test. Okay. So once you run this, whenever it receives a event with the tag cookbook test, and the data will be printed here. So this is what I'm doing it here. So if you refer the master configuration file, these are pre-available variables. So Salt uses them in the because events can happen only in the master, because we have the 0NQ configured on the master only. Okay, whenever you want to trigger an event, it will be based on the master only. So in case if the event got failed, you will see a false here. That means it's not able to deliver the event. Till now we are talking only about the event. Based on an event, I want some action to be defined. That is where the reactor comes into picture, that we are going to do it. So this example, I just wanted to show you how the events are coming into the master and how things are happening. On a particular event, I want a particular state file has to be executed, or I want some command to be executed, that you will be configured in the reactor. That's what we are going to do next. Okay, so this is just to show you how to get the events, okay, and how to do that. See, on a external scenario, like if you want to write some Python code and based on the event you want to write your own set of activities, you can do it. Okay, because it's purely Python, like you can write a Python code and do it. But Salt also gives you a option, like it is not mandatory that you need to write a Python code to trigger a respond to an event. So that is where your reactors are going to come in, which is a default option. You can trigger a state based on an event, that's called reactor.